Moonlight Magic is back at Disneyland.
So what did we think of the event last night? And what tips do we have for you?
I'm Brad.
I'm Kim.
And we're 626 Ohana, California. So yeah, it's been 3 years since Moonlight Magic has been back at Disneyland, and you kind of can't tell. So let's go ahead and get started with the first thing you have to do to go to Moonlight Magic.
You got to register online. This isn't something you just show up to. You actually have to go online and go through a virtual queue and then hopefully get in. It doesn't mean that every DVC member is going to be able to reserve a spot. But the one thing to know about Moonlight Magic is that you can go once a year per park that offers Moonlight Magic. So if you don't get in this time, if they offer it a second time, you have a better shot.
You actually have to have a direct DVC contract to be able to go Moonlight Magic, so that's something else to be aware of.
And that's over 150 points minimum.
But really, the process was pretty simple. You put your number in, how many tickets you want, and where you want them mailed to, and you got them mailed to you.
So what came with that? We got one free parking and up to 5 guests that could go, including ourselves.
What does that get you? It gets you entry into Disney California Adventure at 5 o'clock, so you still have some of the day crowds there.
But if you happen to be in the park like we were at DCA yesterday, we were able to go over to the Blue Cellar, sign in pretty easily.
Yeah.
It was after 5, so we didn't go with the first rush. It was kind of mellowed out about 20 minutes later. We were able to go walk right into Blue Cellar and get our wristbands, and it also came with 3 $10 meal vouchers.
Yeah, and we'll get a little bit more into this because this is kind of a weird thing. But really, if you're going to Moonlight Magic again, that's Disneyland. It's going to be a similar check-in process, just a different spot. You'll have a check-in process outside the gates for you to get in. If you don't have Magic Key passes like we do, or
annual passes if you're over at Walt Disney World.
And so it makes it nice and easy to get in. You may be waiting in some lines.
So once you get your tickets and your wristbands, which they check throughout the night.
Yeah, they were really serious about it this time. Literally, we were walking through the park. Can you see your wristband? At 8 o'clock, they want to see that wristband, and they had teams of security going everywhere.
And including in the complimentary ice cream and drink stations, I think we had to be checked when we got into line and when we got to the front of the line.
Yeah, they kept checking and checking and checking. So obviously they are trying to keep everybody who's DVC be able to get the perks of being DVC being there.
Which is nice.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the great things about this. One is the ride times.
Oh my goodness. For most of the night, the Incredicoaster was a 5-minute wait.
Yeah, 5-minute wait for that. Guardians of the Galaxy for us was 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, so it fluctuated about 20 to 30 minutes on Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout all night.
Yeah, so I think the longest one for us was actually Radiator Springs Racers, which was 35 minutes pretty steadily after about 8:30.
So we actually decided not to go on that because it was such a big chunk. This event is only 3 hours after day guests leave. So for us, that was like a third of the time.
Yeah, and this is where kind of criticism comes into this. I know it's hard to say this is a free event, but we do pay this with our DVC dues. So we're going to be a little harsh on some areas here. And this is one of the areas is that we wish there was a 4-hour event compared to a 3-hour event.
Okay, and why we say that is because you have a half-hour wait time, which is amazing compared to the daytime wait times. But the other thing is, the biggest issue, I think, of the whole evening is the meal vouchers. They give you $30 each worth of meal vouchers. You can either use them at snacks, kiosks, or you can use them in the restaurants.
Yeah, and this is kind of where it becomes difficult because we actually went to Flo's V8 Cafe for dinner. It took us a half hour to get through that line, 35 minutes. It's actually one of the longest lines of the evening for us.
So the thing with the V8, Flo's V8 Cafe is we could take our vouchers and combine them together to make a meal. So that's kind of a good thing that they allow you to do. Or you could do the little snacks at the kiosks around the park.
Yeah, and this will apply to different, like we said, Disneyland, when they actually do it at Disneyland too. So you're going to have to really plan this out. And this is one of our major criticisms too, is when we got our meal vouchers, they told us you can't use them until 8 o'clock at night.
Which is part of the time of the exclusive event after day guests leave. So that's kind of a hard thing, is when you're spending so much time waiting in lines. Now, that's not the only food line. They have free ice cream, which is amazing. They have Mickey premium ice cream bars and the fruit bars.
Yeah, and which is great to have that. but those lines were probably the second longest lines of the night.
And then they had drinks with them, which was like Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, and water.
And we enjoyed it. We got one ice cream bar and one soda, and that was it, because those lines were so long for ice cream, and actually some of the places ran out of ice cream.
So by the end of the night, we went through a second line. They only had the fruit bars, which I wish we would have known ahead of time. But they were also out of drinks. So I think about halfway through the night, I started to notice that most of those kiosks were out of drinks.
Yeah, and that's kind of a bad thing. And unfortunately, we kind of found out the reason why is when we were coming back on the tram. We had a family on the tram that said, "Oh, look, my backpack. I have 20 Cokes in here."
So there was families that were going through the soda lines that were shorter, and they literally walked out with bags full of soda when, like, we only got one soda.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a disappointment. At this point, after seeing that kind of, I'd hate to say abuse of the system, I wish Disney would be like, hey, it's a 3-hour event. Here's 3 drink vouchers per person or 2 drink vouchers per person, which is reasonable because, you know, when you can't get more than one and somebody walks out with a backpack full of drinks, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, because we were dying of thirst on that tram, and we were hearing this. We're like, really?
Yeah.
There are other things that are open for you to actually purchase. So if you want to go to some of the bakery shops, they'll be open and whatnot. So this will again apply for Disneyland and the DCA.
So the baked goods, though, we found out is not. You can't use the food vouchers there.
Yeah, and they'll tell you, and you can ask them. It never hurts to ask, right?
Yeah. There's also some characters out that are there. There's some rare character photo meet and greet ops, which was really cool. So for the first time, we saw Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, everybody's like, what? Jiminy Cricket? Really? What? He was out. He was out with Mickey Mouse. We were like, oh, that's really cool.
And then also Marie was out. Unfortunately, we got into her line, and then the hosts came around and were like, she's going away. It was like, she won't be back for 40 minutes. So we never got to meet and greet with Marie, which is fine. But just kind of get it early. If you have a certain character you find out is there, you want to get to that character line early so that doesn't happen.
Okay, so this should lead into all our tips from Moonlight Magic, which is, one, if take advantage of that 5 o'clock when you get into the park, because we actually got a few rides in that time. Even though the daylight crowds were there, we got Web Slingers in, which was a 45-minute wait, you know, because these are usually on a weekday, so it's not too busy. And what else did we get in that time?
We went over to Soar, and I think it was like a 25-minute wait.
So we got 2 rides in that couple-hour period. But to be truthful, we didn't take full advantage of that time. We were just kind of taking our time at that time. If you really took full advantage, I think in that 5 to 8 o'clock, you probably could get 3 or 4 rides in pretty easily.
Well, we also got Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, and I forgot about that.
Yeah, we forgot about that. That was a lot of fun. But so you really need to plan those times out. This is where we wish the food vouchers would have started at 5 o'clock so we could get our dinners earlier and then have that whole time where there's no lines to rush get through all the rides.
Now, I don't want to seem like this is all negative because it was a pretty incredible event.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Now, also, a tip is like what we're saying, those food vouchers. They give you They gave us $30 in food vouchers, where each were a $10 coupon. You spend that whole $10, or you don't, because they will not give you change back, I guess is the way to put it.
So it's not like you'd have credit left on that voucher if you only use like $5 off of it. You would actually forfeit the rest of that $5.
Yeah, and we did see a lot of people going to just the smaller booths so because they didn't want to wait in line. So you do have several different places that are open. So like Angry Dogs, or even people were getting Jack's Num Nums. Okay,
that might have been a really good use
for those food vouchers, but that is something to be aware of. If you spend $8.50, you give them a $10 coupon, and that's all. That's the whole thing. But you can combine those coupons together for if you have a $30 meal.
So, basically spend wisely and plan ahead. And actually we were able to, like, with us combined, our meal would have been $47 something. So we forfeited a little bit of money there.
Yeah, and so we just combined our meals, ordered them, and got them together. And truthfully, we didn't order the most expensive meals. We were just more for a burger at that time, and something simple for us at that time.
And also, one of the other things that was kind of nice, at the very end of the event, they had a special World of Color just for DVC members. So that was after the 3 hours. It started at 11 o'clock. So that was from that 8 to 11 o'clock is that 3-hour window for the DVC exclusive event before day guests have to leave. So that 11 o'clock, so you get like that extra 15-20 minutes of World of Color at the end of the event, which is nice because a lot of the day guests went to the 8 o'clock World of Color, and you wouldn't want to make that mistake to waste the Moonlight Magic event.
Yeah, especially with the crowds being so much lower, you get probably will get a lot better view. Unfortunately, we got stuck on Soren, and yeah, we missed it.
All right, we have an excuse to go back.
Yes. So, what would we notice is where things are rusty? Well, one is we only had really one big graph that said Moonlight Magic on, and that was on Cathay Circle.
Yeah, you used to have banners and like lit up signs and things everywhere. So that was, I don't feel like that makes or breaks. It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
But we just noticed they weren't there this year.
They also didn't have DVC reps around. We really did notice that, or any of the executives.
Which is kind of weird because they usually, for at least a portion of the event, are out and you could go talk to them, which is always kind of a fun thing. And I really miss that. I had a few questions about Disneyland Tower.
Yeah, because we went and visited it, and it's getting there. It's getting there, and I'm showing you pictures of it now. But we really thought they would really want all its members to know, yeah, it's coming. We're getting really close, and we just really didn't have that.
Not that that's like make or break event. It's just something that we noticed that was different.
So if you're finding this video helpful,
please like,
subscribe,
and follow along with our Ohana.
So what are our overall thoughts about Moonlight Magic? Well, as DVC members that own direct, we do love the option of having it.
Oh my goodness, we look forward to these events. So even though there's things that we see that can use improvement, we would never be upset. This is part of our dues, even though they call it a free event. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, and we may seem critical about it, but we're also letting you guys know of what to expect and also what could be some of the downsides of what's going on.
So yeah, like we'd say, go and get ice cream and a drink early, because if you wait till the end of the night, you might be out of luck. Or you'd have a line that wraps around and take up a ton of time. So get those early.
And maybe skip the longer restaurant lines and maybe just grab something quick so you can hit all those rides if you only have that short period. We had a great time. We do love having this option at Disneyland or at DCA, and we're hoping Disneyland comes sometime soon again, and it's not another 3 years.
And I also remembered this is kind of a cool event because we brought family, and they don't have Magic Key passes, or they don't buy tickets. So the fact that we could bring people that didn't have really could go to Disney all the time, this was kind of a cool thing to be able to take them to.
So with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye and
find your magic. Bye everyone.